Hey gang, and welcome back. Just a reminder, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com. You'll get 10% off orders over $10 and help with the channel at the same time. We are back at it again this week at a new venue with some new faces and some new commanders. I'm not actually in this game, but don't worry, you're in good hands. Tyler is playing Breya and keeps a hand with Concealed Courtyard, Evolving Wilds, Island, Soul Ring, Soul Scour, Unexpectedly Absent, and a card I can't see. Dario is playing his Norin the Wary and keeps a hand with 2 mountains, Thran Dynamo, Smuggler's Copter, and Reverberate. Matt is playing his Mimeoplasm deck and keeps a hand with Overgrown Tomb, Breeding Pool, Rhystic Study, Solemn Simulacrum, Cyclonic Rift, Buried Alive, and Exhume. Lastly, Simon is playing his Cromat deck and keeps a hand with Oblivion Stone, Darksteel Ingot, Overgrown Tomb, Door to Nothingness, Mountain, Sneak Attack, and Sylvan Caryatid. Tyler wins the die roll and starts us off. Tyler plays an island and casts Soul Ring before passing. Matt plays an Overgrown Tomb tapped and passes turn. Simon does the same, playing Overgrown Tomb tapped and passes. Dario plays a mountain already tapped, as he typically always casts Norin on turn 1. With nothing else, he passes. Tyler plays a Concealed Courtyard and drops Krark Clan Ironworks. Norin exiles himself and comes back at the end of turn, as he pretty much does the entire game, but I'm not going to repeat it over and over again unless it has a relevant impact. At the end of turn, Matt casts Summon a Sandwich and Salad. Matt plays a Breeding Pool and has it come into play untapped, taking 2. He then casts a Grisly Salvage and keeps a Rogue's Passage. Simon plays a Mountain and casts Sylvan Caryatid. With nothing else, he passes turn. Dario plays a Mountain and casts Smuggler's Copter. Tyler plays and cracks an Evolving Wilds to find a Plains and passes turn. Matt plays a Sanctum of Ugin for his land for turn and pays 2 mana to cast Exhume. He brings back Jin-Gitaxias Core Augur, and at the end of his turn, he's supposed to draw 7 before discarding down to 7. He's distracted by his sandwich unfortunately, but he does remember once Simon's turn starts. Simon plays a Swamp for his turn, and casts a Toxic Deluge, paying 4 life into the spell to wipe the board. Dario crews up his Copter in his main phase with Norin, and swings it at Matt. Dario then gets to draw a card, and discards a mountain before playing a mountain in his second main phase. Dario passes turn, and Norin comes back. Tyler plays a Vivid Crag and casts Lightning Greaves before passing to Matt. Matt plays an island for his turn and casts his own copy of Soul Ring. He then casts a Solemn Simulacrum to find a basic island and passes turn. Simon has no land for turn and instead casts a Darksteel Ingot before passing to Dario. Dario crews up his Copter once more before moving to combat and swings it at Matt. Dario gets to resolve the Copter trigger first, and he draws a card and discards Reverberate before playing a mountain in his second main phase. Dario then casts a Thran Dynamo and passes turn. Tyler plays an island and taps out to cast a Spine of Ish-Sa. He targets Dario's Thran Dynamo, who is quite sad that he never got to use it before it was destroyed. With nothing else, Tyler passes turn. Matt plays an Eye of Ugin for his land for turn and casts his general, the Mimeoplasm. He exiles Jin-Gitaxias and Kozilek the Great Distortion, having Mimeo become a copy of Jin and gains 12+1/+1 counters. He swings a Solemn at Dario for 2, and once again, Matt then draws 7 and discards down to 7 at the end of his turn. Luck is not with Simon tonight, and he can't draw a land for his life, and instead has to cast Oblivion Stone before moving to his end step, discarding his entire hand and passing turn. Dario joins the Soul Ring party during his first main phase, and responds to Norin's exile trigger by crewing the Copter before his commander leaves. He swings it at Matt for 3 once more, and draws a card before discarding Dualcaster Mage. Dario then plays a mountain in his second main phase. Not wanting to lose all the good cards in his hand, Dario then casts Gauntlet of Might, followed by a Magus of the Wheel before discarding his hand and passing to Tyler. Tyler plays a Plains and sacrifices the Spine to Krark Clan Ironworks, gaining 2 colorless mana and having the Spine return to his hand thanks to the trigger from the Spine. He then recasts the Spine to blow up the Mimeoplasm. Tyler then sacrifices the Spine once more, returning it to his hand, and casts Nahiri the Harbinger. He upticks his Walker, but chooses not to discard anything and passes turn. Matt plays a Tomb of the Spirit Dragon and taps it to cast Mana Vault. He then recasts the Mimeoplasm, exiling Void Winnower and Emrakul the Promised End, and has the Mimeoplasm be a copy of the Void Winnower and gains 13+1/+1 counters. Matt then casts a Cyclonic Rift to bounce the Oblivion Stone back to Simon's hand, and with nothing else, he passes turn. Simon can't catch a break, and he still has no lands for turn, but at least he recasts the Oblivion Stone, which he does so before passing to Dario. Dario casts a Goblin Matron in his main phase and goes to find Squee. With Squee in hand, Dario activates the Magus of the Wheel, forcing everyone to discard their hand and draw 7, which most people are fine with. Dario then casts Winds of Change, forcing everyone to shuffle their hands into their library and draw that many, and suddenly people are getting a little tired of the wheels. Dario then drops a Siege Gang Commander and crews up the Copter and swings it at Nahiri. Tyler plays a Mystic Monastery for his land for turn, upticking Nahiri and pitching Triskelion. He then casts an Eldrazi Displacer and moves the Lightning Greaves onto his Eldrazi. Tyler then passes to Matt. Matt takes 1 on his upkeep because his Mana Vault is tapped and he opts not to pay to untap it. Matt then casts Frantic Search, drawing 2 and discards 2 lands before untapping his 3 lands. Matt then casts a Demonic Tutor and plays a Woodland Cemetery as his land for turn. Matt then casts Thran Dynamo and casts a Forbidden Alchemy. Moving to combat, Matt doesn't want to lose his mana rocks or his creatures, so he swings his commander at Simon for 24 points of commander damage. Dario plays a mountain for his turn and casts an Incendiary Command, picking the 2 modes of destroying Matt's Eye of Ugin and having everyone wheel. Dario then casts Magus of the Moon and casts Shattering Spree, replicating it for a total of 7 targets. He then goes around the board and pretty much annihilates anything with the card type artifact that he doesn't control. Moving to combat, he crews up the Copter and swings the Copter and Goblin tokens at Matt for 9. Tyler makes a bit of a misplay as he flickers Matt's Mimeoplasm without the appropriate colorless mana. I don't think this changes too much, as he would have had the option to do so and probably would have had he realized that he needed to use the mana from his mana rocks that Dario had just destroyed. Anyway, the Mimeoplasm gets exiled and becomes a copy of Inkwell Leviathan and gains 11 +1/+1 counters from It That Betrays. Tyler then upticks his Nahiri, pitching the Sword of the Meek and drawing a card, before casting Felidar Guardian to bounce Nahiri. Tyler then upticks Nahiri once more, pitching Sidri to draw a card, and he plays a Vault of Whispers. He then casts Thopter Foundry, and sacrifices his Vault of Whispers, which, although changed by the Magus, is still actually an artifact. Tyler gains 1 life and gets a Thopter token, and uses the Sword of the Meek trigger to return the equipment attached to the token. With his blocker ready, Tyler passes to Matt. Matt spends all of half a second thinking about who he wants to attack, and he swings his commander at Tyler. Tyler tries to block with his token, but as the Inkwell has Island Walk, he can't block. Frustrated by his mistake thinking he could chump it, Tyler decides to scoop it up after taking the damage, and he's gotta go check on his laundry, so he heads out. With nothing else, Matt passes to Dario. Dario crews up his Copter once more, its well-worn seat welcoming Norin again. Dario then moves to combat, swinging everything at Matt for 17 points of damage, and Dario once more gets to use the Copter's filter. Matt then casts Titan's Presence, revealing a creature with more than 3 power to try and exile Siege Gang Commander. Dario instead pays 2 to sacrifice it to himself, dealing 2 damage to Matt. Matt then takes 14 points of damage, and in the second main phase, Dario tries to cast Hellkite Tyrant. Matt stops it with a counterspell, and with nothing else, Dario passes turn. Matt plays a Swamp for his turn and casts a Conduit of Ruin. Matt gets to tutor and find the Decimator of the Provinces, and puts it on top of his library. Matt then plays a Sire of Stagnation, and needing to keep all of his creatures back in order to not hopefully die, he passes to Dario. Unfortunately for Matt, Dario goes straight to combat for his turn, crewing up the Copter and swinging everything at him. After some quick maths, Matt realizes he's pretty much dead and extends the handshake. Game review time. So if you're at all a follower of Eric Klug's Altars, you may have noticed that Dario's Norin the Wary was recently one of the cards that he'd done. Additionally, despite the fact that Dario's deck played very much like a combat-centric deck, it's actually based around Chaos, running cards like Warp World, Possibility Storm, and Omen Machine to mess with people. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm saying stuff to take away from Dario's win, but this is typically not the Norin I play against. It's a real shame that Simon's deck didn't get out the door, and the biggest play that he had was casting Oblivion Stone twice, but never being able to activate it. I was able to get a second game where he did play Cromat, and he actually did stuff in that game, so you'll have to watch for it in the future. Matt's Mimeoplasm deck seemed to be built around the idea of milling himself and exiling his fatties. It seemed like he was running a lot of the Eldrazi, and although he wasn't able to get any of the on-cast triggers, he was still able to use them to give his commander a bunch of +1/+1 counters. It was also cool to see Tyler's Breya deck, as it wasn't as powerful or as fast as Kevin's. It's always interesting to compare decks, especially when one is based around combo and one seems to be more based around artifacts. Kevin's deck is certainly faster and more combo-oriented, whereas Tyler seems to play a lot of fun cards. There's nothing wrong with playing either of the decks, and you have to find what you enjoy. For me, this is what makes EDH so much fun and so special. He hasn't played Magic in a long time, so the mistake with the Eldrazi Displacer is understandable. All I can do is accept it and try and make as best a video as I can out of it. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta, You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta, and lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in part by support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit my Patreon link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.